For 5 years, Kong Miho hadn't looked at a woman with anything except cold indifference. Socialites, heiresses, models, actresses, they were all invisible to him. His organization even had a nickname for him, the Ice King. Some people whispered he was incapable of feeling anything. Others said his heart died with his father. Everyone agreed on one thing: Kong Miho would never fall in love. But on a random Tuesday afternoon, he'd nearly run over a random street flyer girl. "Watch it, man. Your dad doesn't own the damn road." The girl had yelled at him whilst standing up and dusting herself. He stepped out of his Mercedes in the middle of Koreatown, ready to rain down hell on the girl because no one, absolutely no one had ever talked back at him. But then he saw her, Petra Winston, a street flyer girl with golden brown skin and fire in her eyes, arguing fearlessly with his security team. One glance. That's all it took for 5 years of ice to shatter. She didn't know who he was. She didn't care about his power. And that made him want her even more. If you're loving this dark romance already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our steamy Mafia love stories. Drop a comment telling me if you're team love at first sight or team love takes time. Now, let's get into Petra and Miho's dangerous love story. Petra Winston had exactly $43 in her bank account, a disconnected phone, and a pride that wouldn't let her ask anyone for help. Club Euphoria, this Friday. Best hip-hop and R&B in Manhattan, she called out, her voice cutting through the afternoon chaos of Koreatown. She handed colorful flyers to passing strangers, most of whom took them just to throw them away 3 steps later. She didn't care. Every flyer she handed out meant 50 cents in her pocket. 10 more hours of this, and she'd have enough for this week's rent on the closet-sized room she called home. At 24, this wasn't where she thought she'd be. A year ago, she'd been a graduate student studying social work. Then her mother got sick. Hospital bills piled up like snow in a blizzard. Petra dropped out, worked 3 jobs, and still watched her mother slip away. Now she was alone in New York, broken, but too stubborn to quit. "Excuse me, miss," an older Korean woman said. "You cannot do this here." Petra looked up. The woman was elegant, expensive jewelry glinting at her throat. Behind her stood 2 men in dark suits, hands clasped in front of them like Secret Service agents. "It's a public sidewalk," Petra replied politely but firmly. "I'm not blocking foot traffic. This is private territory. You need permission to do business here." Petra's eyebrows shot up. "Permission? Lady, I'm handing out papers, not selling drugs." The woman's expression hardened. One of the suited men stepped forward. That's when the black Mercedes pulled up to the curb. Petra didn't pay it much attention, rich people were always rolling through Manhattan. But the way the elegant woman's face went pale, the way both suited men immediately bowed deeply, that caught her attention. The back door opened. The man who emerged seemed to pull all the light from the street into his orbit. Kong Miho was beautiful in a dangerous way, sharp jawline, dark eyes that could cut glass, black hair styled back with a few strands falling forward. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Petra made in 6 months. Everything about him screamed power, from his measured movements to the way people on the street instinctively moved aside. He was on his phone, speaking rapid Korean, not looking at anyone. Until he looked at her. Miho had been discussing a shipment delay with his Hong Kong contact when his eyes landed on the young black woman arguing with Mrs. Lim, one of his business managers. He forgot what he was saying mid-sentence. She was stunning, not in the polished, artificial way of the women who threw themselves at him constantly, but in a raw, natural way that hit him like a physical blow. Her hair was pulled back in a high puff, gold hoop earrings catching the sunlight. She wore ripped jeans and a fitted black tank top, her golden brown skin glowing. But it was her eyes that stopped him, fierce, proud, afraid of nothing. "I'll call you back," he said in Korean, ending the call. "Mr. Kong," Mrs. Lim rushed to him, bowing again. "I'm handling this situation. This person is." "Leave us," Miho said quietly. Mrs. Lim's eyes widened. "Sir. You and your men. Go inside." There was no room for argument in his tone. Mrs. Lim bowed and retreated, throwing a curious glance back at Petra. Petra watched this entire exchange with growing understanding. The way everyone reacted to this man, the expensive car, the security, the instant obedience, this wasn't just some rich businessman. This was someone dangerous. "So you're the boss," she said, clutching her flyers a little tighter but refusing to show fear. Miho studied her, his expression unreadable. "You're working in my territory without permission." "Your territory?" Petra let out a sharp laugh. "Last I checked, this was New York City, not your personal kingdom." Something flickered in Miho's eyes, surprise, maybe even amusement. People didn't speak to him this way. Ever. "What's your name?" he asked. "None of your business," Petra shot back. "Look, I don't want any trouble. I'm just trying to make some money to pay my rent. I'll move to another block." She started to walk away, and Miho did something he hadn't done in years. He reached out and gently caught her wrist. The contact sent electricity through both of them. Petra's eyes snapped to his, wide with shock. Miho released her immediately, almost surprised at his own action. "Wait," he said, his voice softer now. "I'm not going to hurt you." "Said every dangerous man ever," Petra replied, but she didn't walk away. "How much do they pay you for this?" Miho gestured at the flyers. "Why? You want to hire me to pass out flyers for your, what, criminal enterprise?" A slight smile tugged at the corner of Miho's mouth. She had fire, and she wasn't stupid. "Come work for me," he said. "Not handing out flyers. I have a legitimate nightclub. I need someone for promotions, social media, event coordination. The pay is $3,000 a week." Petra's heart jumped. $3,000 a week. That was more than she made in a month working all her jobs combined. Which meant it was too good to be true. "What's the catch?" she asked. "No catch. You're clearly hardworking, you're not afraid to speak your mind, and..." He paused, his dark eyes holding hers. "I find you interesting." "Interesting," Petra repeated. "Is that code for something?" "It's code for exactly what I said." They stared at each other, the busy street moving around them like they were in a bubble. Petra's mind raced. $3,000 a week could change her life. She could pay off her mother's remaining medical bills, get a decent apartment, maybe even go back to school eventually. But this man was clearly involved in something illegal. The way people feared him, the security, the talk of territory, this was mafia or gang-related. "I'm not doing anything illegal," she said firmly. "I'm not asking you to. And I'm not sleeping with you for money." Miho's expression hardened slightly. "I'm not asking you to do that either. I'm offering you a legitimate job because I think you'd be good at it. Whether you accept or not is your choice." He pulled out a business card and held it out. "My club. Come tomorrow at noon if you're interested. Ask for me." Petra took the card slowly. "Kong Miho," she read aloud. "And your name?" he asked again. She hesitated, then figured it didn't matter. He could find out if he really wanted to. "Petra. Petra Winston." "Petra," he repeated, and the way her name sounded in his deep voice with that slight accent did something to her insides that she absolutely did not want to acknowledge. "I'll think about it," she said, stepping back. "I hope you do." As Miho walked toward the building Mrs. Lim had entered, his phone rang again. He answered in Korean, his business voice returning. But just before he entered, he glanced back. Petra was still standing there, looking at his card. For the first time in 5 years, Kong Miho felt anticipation about seeing someone again. That evening, Petra sat in her tiny room, barely bigger than a storage closet, and researched Kong Miho. What she found made her stomach drop. He was the head of the Kong family, one of the most powerful Korean organized crime families in New York. They controlled everything from high-end real estate to entertainment venues to export businesses that were definitely fronts for something illegal. Miho himself had taken over at 26 after his father was killed in a gang war. In the 4 years since, he'd consolidated power, eliminated rivals, and built an empire. He was known for being ruthless, calculating, and absolutely cold-blooded. There were rumors, too, that he'd never been seen with a woman. That he'd rejected the daughter of a powerful Chinese triad leader, nearly causing a war. That he cared about nothing but power and revenge. "This is insane," Petra muttered to herself. "You'd be crazy to work for him. But 3,000 a week." Her phone, she'd scraped together money to get it reconnected, buzzed with a text from her landlord. Rent was due in 3 days or she was out. Petra looked at Miho's business card again. Probably a huge mistake, she told herself. But the next day at noon, she was standing outside Club Diamond, the address on the card. Before we find out what happens next, let me know in the comments, would you take the job? And if you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? We post these addictive romance stories every week. Hit that like button if you're already hooked on Miho and Petra. Now, back to the story. Club Diamond was not what Petra expected. From the outside, it looked like an upscale Manhattan nightclub, sleek, modern, with frosted glass and steel. Inside was even more impressive. The main floor had a massive bar, VIP sections with plush seating, and a state-of-the-art sound system. Everything was top-tier. A hostess greeted her immediately. "Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Kong Miho. He told me to come at noon." The hostess's professional smile faltered slightly, clearly surprised, but she recovered quickly. "Of course. Please follow me." Petra was led upstairs to an office that overlooked the entire club. The door was open. Miho sat behind a massive desk, again on the phone, again speaking Korean. He was in a black button-down shirt today, sleeves rolled up to his forearms. He saw her and held up one finger, 1 minute. Petra used that minute to study him. In daylight streaming through the windows, he was even more striking. There was a scar, very faint, along his jawline. A warrior's face, she thought. Beautiful but dangerous. Miho ended his call and stood. "You came. Don't sound so surprised. You made a good offer. Come, sit." He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Have you eaten?" The question surprised her. No, but I'm fine." Miho was already texting someone. "I'm having lunch brought up. You'll join me, and we'll discuss the position. I haven't said yes yet. But you're here." His eyes met hers. "Which means you're considering it." He had her there. 20 minutes later, they were eating Korean food that Miho explained as he went, bibimbap, tteokbokki, gimbap. Petra was hesitant at first, but the food was incredible. "You don't eat Korean food often," Miho observed. "I've had it a few times. Just never could afford the really good places." Petra paused. "I looked you up, by the way. I expected you would. And you came anyway. The job you're offering, is it real? Or is it a cover for something illegal?" Miho set down his chopsticks and gave her his full attention. "The club is completely legitimate. It's properly licensed, pays taxes, follows all regulations. I need someone to handle social media, coordinate with promoters, manage our event calendar, and increase our visibility with a younger, more diverse crowd. That's a real job. And the illegal stuff happens nowhere near you," Miho said bluntly. "I keep my businesses separate. If you work here, you work for the club. Nothing else." "Why me?" Petra asked. "You don't know anything about me. I could be terrible at this." "Are you terrible at things?" "No," she admitted. "I'm actually really good at social media. I was running accounts for local businesses before I had to take on more jobs." "Then you'll be good at this." Miho leaned back in his chair. "I have instincts about people, Petra. I trust those instincts. They're telling me you're smart, hardworking, and exactly what this club needs." "Your instincts tell you all that from one conversation?" "Yes." There was something in the way he looked at her, intense, focused, like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve. Okay, Petra said, making a decision that would change everything. I'll take the job. But I have conditions. Miho's eyebrow raised slightly. People didn't usually give him conditions. I'm listening. 1. I'm never involved in anything illegal. Ever. 2. If I find out you're using me or the club for something criminal, I walk away. 3. I want a written contract so this is all official and legal. Agreed, Miho said without hesitation. My condition, you're loyal to me and this business. You don't share information about what you see or hear here with anyone outside. And you come to me directly if there's ever a problem. Do we have an agreement? He extended his hand across the desk. Petra looked at it, elegant, strong, with one silver ring on his index finger. She was probably making a deal with the devil. She shook his hand anyway. We have an agreement. The smile that crossed Miho's face was small but genuine, and it transformed him from dangerous to devastating. Welcome to Diamond, Petra Winston. The first 2 weeks were a whirlwind. Miho set Petra up with a real office, a new laptop, access to all the club's accounts, and a salary that hit her bank account exactly when he said it would. She dove into the work with everything she had. Within days, she'd revamped their Instagram, started a TikTok account, and coordinated with local influencers. She brought in a younger, more diverse crowd. Revenue increased by 30% in the first week alone. Miho watched it all with intense satisfaction, and not just because of the business results. He couldn't stop watching her. Petra brought life into his club, into his office, into spaces that had been cold and purely functional. She laughed easily with the staff, danced to the music while she worked, wore bright colors that stood out in his monochrome world. And she treated him like a regular person. These numbers are wrong, she'd said just that morning, walking into his office without knocking and dropping a spreadsheet on his desk. Someone's skimming from the bar inventory. Miho had been in a meeting with 2 of his captains. They'd looked scandalized that someone interrupted. Petra hadn't even noticed. I'll handle it, Miho had said calmly. Good work catching it. That's literally my job, she'd replied, then noticed the other men. Oh, sorry. Didn't know you had company. Hey, I'm Petra. She'd waved and left. After she'd gone, one of his captains, Jay, had said carefully, Boss, she just walked in. Should we talk to her about protocol? No, Miho had said firmly. She's doing her job. She has access to me whenever she needs it. Now, late in the evening, Miho stood in his office watching Petra down on the club floor. It was a regular Friday night, packed with people. She was talking to the DJ, probably coordinating the playlist with their social media content. She wore a gold dress tonight, her hair in long braids she'd gotten since starting the job. She was breathtaking. You're staring again, came a female voice. Miho didn't turn around. I don't recall asking for your input, Hannah. His younger sister came to stand beside him at the window. Hannah was 25, sharp as a blade, and one of the few people who could speak freely to him. The entire organization is talking about her, Hannah said. The girl who has caught Miho's attention. Do you know how many business proposals you've ignored in the past 2 weeks? How many meetings you've rescheduled? I haven't neglected anything important. You rejected the Zhao family's dinner invitation. That's the 3rd time. They're getting offended. The Zhao family had a daughter they'd been trying to match with Miho for over a year. A strategic marriage to unite their organizations. Not interested, Miho said flatly. Because of her? Hannah nodded toward Petra. Because I don't make decisions about my life based on other people's expectations. Does she know how you feel? I don't feel anything, Miho lied. She's an employee. A good one. Hannah laughed. Brother, I've known you my entire life. I've never seen you look at anyone the way you look at her. This is dangerous. I know. Our world doesn't mix well with innocence. She could get hurt. I won't let that happen. You might not be able to stop it. Hannah's voice was gentle now. If the other families see her as a weakness, if our enemies think they can get to you through her, then they'll learn very quickly what happens to people who threaten what's mine. The words came out with such cold finality that even Hannah fell silent. On the floor below, Petra laughed at something the bartender said, her whole face lighting up. Miho felt something in his chest, a longing he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Petra was avoiding the obvious. She was attracted to her boss. Dangerously, stupidly attracted to him. It had started innocently enough. Miho was beautiful, that was just objective fact. But then she'd started noticing other things. The way he listened when she talked, giving her his complete attention. How he'd had her office stocked with her favorite snacks after she'd mentioned them once. The protective way he'd shut down a drunk customer who'd gotten too handsy with her, his voice going ice cold, touch her again and lose the hand. And the way he looked at her sometimes, when he thought she didn't notice, like she was something precious and dangerous all at once. "Girl, your boss is fine as hell," her coworker Maya said, catching Petra staring toward Miho's office. "Also terrifying. But mostly fine." "He's my boss," Petra said firmly. "That's it. Keep telling yourself that." The thing was, Petra had learned more about Miho over the past 2 weeks. Despite running a criminal empire, he took care of his people. Every employee at Diamond had full health insurance, good wages, and were treated with respect. She'd seen him speak gently to the older Korean woman who cleaned the offices, asking about her grandson in Korean. He was complicated, violent and tender, cold and passionate, feared and loyal. And she was falling for him, which was absolutely the worst idea ever. "Petra," Miho's voice came through her office phone intercom. "Can you come upstairs?" Her heart jumped. "On my way." When she entered his office, Miho was standing by the window, looking out at the city. He turned when she entered. "Close the door." Petra's pulse quickened, but she did as he asked. "Is something wrong?" "You've been here 2 weeks, Miho said. You've exceeded every expectation. I'm giving you a raise, 4,500 a week. And I want to take you to dinner. Tomorrow night." Petra's mind went blank. "Dinner?" "Yes. A restaurant I own. The best Korean food in Manhattan. To celebrate your success here." That's really generous, but you don't have to." "I want to," Miho interrupted, stepping closer. "Is that acceptable?" They were standing too close now. Petra could smell his cologne, something expensive and intoxicating. "Just a work dinner?" she asked quietly. "Do you want it to be just a work dinner?" The question hung between them, loaded with possibility and danger. Petra knew what she should say. She should maintain professional boundaries, remember that he was her boss and a literal crime lord, protect herself from getting hurt. Instead, she heard herself say, "No. I don't." Miho's eyes darkened with something that made her knees weak. "Then it's a date. I'll pick you up at 7. Text me your address." "Okay," Petra whispered. "Okay," Miho repeated, and smiled, a real, genuine smile that made him look younger and even more dangerous to her heart. As Petra left his office, her hands were shaking. She was about to cross a line that couldn't be uncrossed. And she couldn't wait. Miho arrived at exactly 7 in his Mercedes, but this time he was driving himself. When Petra came downstairs, his breath actually caught. She wore a deep burgundy dress that hugged her curves, her braids swept to one side, gold jewelry that complemented her skin tone. She was absolutely stunning. "You're staring," Petra said, but she was smiling. "You're beautiful," Miho replied simply, opening the car door for her. The restaurant was intimate, clearly high-end, and Miho had reserved a private room. As they settled in, Petra noticed something. "Everyone here keeps bowing to you," she observed. "I own the restaurant," Miho said. "And they respect me." "Fear and respect aren't the same thing. With me, they often are." Petra studied him across the table. "That doesn't bother you? People being afraid of you?" "It keeps me alive," Miho said. "In my world, fear is currency. But, I don't want you to fear me. I don't, Petra said honestly. I probably should, but I don't. Why not? Because I've seen the way you are with people when you think no one important is watching. You're kind to the cleaning staff. You paid for your bartender's son's surgery out of pocket. You're not just a monster, Miho. Even if that's what you want people to think. Miho was quiet for a long moment. You see too much. Is that a problem? It's dangerous. For both of us. The food arrived, course after course of incredible Korean dishes. Miho explained each one, sometimes feeding her bites from his own plate, an intimacy that felt shockingly natural. Tell me about your family, Petra said. Miho's expression shuddered slightly. My father built this empire from nothing. He came to America with nothing but ambition and ruthlessness. He made enemies. One of them killed him 4 years ago. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was hard man. Cruel, even. But he was my father. Miho paused. I have a younger sister, Hannah. She's the only family I have left. And she's the only person whose opinion matters to me. Does she know about me? She knows I'm having dinner with you. She thinks I'm being reckless. Are you? Petra asked softly. Miho reached across the table and took her hand, the first time he'd really touched her since that day on the street. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Yes, he admitted. You're a risk I shouldn't take. Getting involved with you goes against every rule I have. But I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the moment I saw you. Petra's heart was pounding. I haven't stopped thinking about you either. Which is crazy because you're literally a criminal, you're my boss, and this could blow up in so many ways. Miho stood suddenly, still holding her hand, and pulled her gently to her feet. They were alone in the private room, the door closed. Tell me to stop, he said quietly, stepping into her space. Tell me this is a bad idea and we should keep things professional, and I will. I'll never bring it up again. Petra looked up at him, this beautiful, dangerous man who looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. What if I don't want you to stop, she whispered. Miho's control, legendary and absolute, finally snapped. He cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. It was everything, intense, passionate, desperate. Petra melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt. Miho kissed like he did everything else, with complete focus and devastating skill. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Miho rested his forehead against hers. Petra, he breathed. This changes everything. I know. My world is dangerous. People will come after you to get to me. I know that too. And you're still here. Petra pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. I'm still here. Something like relief crossed Miho's face. He kissed her again, softer this time, almost reverent. Then you're mine now, he said against her lips. And I protect what's mine. The next 3 weeks were the happiest of Petra's life. Miho was everything. Attentive, passionate, unexpectedly tender. He took her to the best restaurants, showed her parts of the city she'd never seen, and spent every free moment with her. At work, they tried to be professional, but everyone knew. The way Miho looked at her made it impossible to hide. And the way he protected her was fierce. When a rival gang member made the mistake of approaching Petra outside the club, Miho had appeared out of nowhere, put himself between them, and said something in Korean so terrifying that the man had literally run away. What did you say to him? Petra had asked. That if he ever came near you again, I'd remove his organs one by one while he watched. That's disturbingly specific. I meant every word. But there was gentleness too. The way Miho held her while they watched movies in his penthouse. How he learned to cook her favorite American breakfast. The night he'd held her while she cried about her mother, just offering silent comfort. I love you, Miho had said one night, the words seemingly pulled from somewhere deep inside him. I've never said that to anyone who wasn't family. But I love you, Petra. I love you too, she'd whispered back. Even though you're absolutely insane and this is probably going to end badly. It won't. I won't let it. But they both knew he couldn't control everything. The Zhao family finally lost patience. Ramsay Zhao, the family patriarch, called a meeting with Miho. It was supposed to be about territory disputes. It was actually about Petra. You've rejected my daughter 3 times now, Ramsay said, his voice cold. Do you know how insulting that is to my family? Your daughter is lovely, Miho replied calmly. But I'm not interested in a strategic marriage. Because of the black girl you're parading around? The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Miho's captains, standing behind him, tensed. Careful, Miho said softly, and it was more threatening than if he'd shouted. She's nobody, Ramsay continued, clearly not reading the danger signs. A street girl you picked up and dressed in nice clothes. She's not suitable for someone of your position. She weakens you. Miho stood slowly. This meeting is over. I'm not finished. Yes. You are. Miho's voice was pure ice. Petra is mine. That's not negotiable, not up for discussion, and not your concern. If you or anyone in your organization speaks about her disrespectfully again, we're going to war. Am I clear? Ramsay Zhao stared at him, shocked. Starting a war over a woman was unthinkable in their world. You'd risk everything for her? Ramsay asked. Everything, Miho confirmed. Now get out of my building. After the Zhao family left, Miho's head captain, Jay, approached carefully. Boss, he's right that this could be seen as a weakness. Other families might. Let them try, Miho cut him off. Anyone who touches her answers to me personally. Spread the word. Petra knew something was wrong the moment Miho picked her up that evening. He was tense, his jaw tight. What happened? She asked as they entered his penthouse. Miho poured himself a drink, whiskey, neat, and stared out at the city skyline. The Zhao family is unhappy about our relationship, he said finally. Ramsay Zhao made some comments today. Disrespectful ones. Petra's stomach dropped. About me being black. It wasn't a question. Miho's silence was answer enough. What did you say? She asked. That if anyone in his organization speaks about you that way again, I'm starting a war. Miho. I meant it, Petra. He turned to face her. I will burn this entire city down before I let anyone hurt you or disrespect you. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. Petra's voice rose. You starting a war because of me, people dying because of me. Because of them, Miho corrected, crossing to her. Because they're racist and think they can dictate my life. This isn't your fault. But I'm the catalyst. Maybe we should cool things down. Just for a while, until... No. Miho's hands framed her face. Absolutely not. I've spent 5 years being cold, alone, doing everything everyone expected of me. Then I found you. You make me feel human again, Petra. I'm not giving that up. I'm not giving you up. Petra felt tears prick her eyes. I don't want you to. But I'm scared. Your world is so dangerous, and I'm just. You're everything, Miho interrupted fiercely. You're strong, brilliant, beautiful, and you see me. The real me, not just the monster everyone else sees. Do you understand? You're everything to me. He kissed her desperately, and Petra kissed him back, pouring all her love and fear into it. That night, wrapped in each other's arms, they both knew a storm was coming. They just didn't know how soon. It happened 3 days later. Petra was closing up her office at the club when the power went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. Her phone was in her hand immediately, dialing Miho. Before it could connect, someone grabbed her from behind. Petra fought, she wasn't going down without a fight. She elbowed her attacker, stomped on their foot, screamed. But there were 2 of them, both bigger and stronger. A cloth covered her mouth and nose. Chemical smell. Chloroform, her fading mind identified. The last thing she thought before darkness took her was, Miho. I need Miho. Miho was in a meeting when Jay burst in without knocking, his face ashen. Boss, it's Petra. She's been taken from the club. Everything stopped. Time, breath, thought. Then Miho moved. Within 15 minutes, every resource he had was mobilized. Security footage showed 2 men in masks. A van with stolen plates. Professional job. His phone rang, unknown number. Yes, Miho answered, his voice deadly calm even as his heart was tearing apart. Kong Miho. You rejected our family. Now you'll pay the price. It was Ramsey Zhao's voice. If you hurt her, Miho started. You'll what? Start a war. It's already started. The call ended. Miho made another call immediately. Hannah. Get everyone. Every soldier, every contact, everyone who owes us a favor. The Zhao family just declared war. What did they do? Hannah asked. They took Petra. Silence. Then, I'll rally everyone. We'll get her back, brother. Not we, Miho said, already heading for his weapons room. I'm getting her back. Tonight. Alive. And then I'm going to make Ramsey Zhao regret the day he was born. Petra woke in darkness, her head pounding. She was tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse. 2 guards stood by the door, not paying much attention to her. She tested the ropes. Tight, but not impossible. They'd underestimated her, thought she was just some helpless girl. They were wrong. Growing up in rough neighborhoods, Petra had taken self-defense classes. She was resourceful. And she was angry. While the guards talked, she worked at the knots, ignoring the burn on her wrists. It took 20 minutes, but she got one hand free. Just as she was working on the other rope, the warehouse door exploded inward. Miho entered like an avenging angel, gun in hand, 20 men behind him. His face was absolutely terrifying in its cold fury. Where is SHE? He roared. The guards reached for their weapons. They didn't stand a chance. Miho shot them both with clinical precision, not fatal shots, but incapacitating. Then he saw her. Petra. He crossed the warehouse in seconds, falling to his knees in front of her, hands shaking as he worked on the remaining rope. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? I swear to God if they... I'm okay, Petra said, even though she was shaking. Miho, I'm okay. The rope fell away and Miho pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. She felt wetness on her neck. Was he crying? I thought I'd lost you, he whispered roughly. Petra, I thought. I'm here. I'm right here. Miho pulled back, cupping her face, his eyes wild as he searched for injuries. Then he kissed her desperately. Boss, Jay interrupted carefully. We need to move. Zhao's men are going to die tonight, Miho finished coldly, standing and pulling Petra with him. He shrugged off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. Get her to the safe house. Full security detail. No one gets near her. What are you going to do? Petra asked, though she already knew. What I should have done the first time Ramsey Zhao disrespected you, Miho said. I'm ending this. Miho, don't do something you can't come back from. Not because of me. He touched her face gently, the tenderness a stark contrast to the violence in his eyes. Everything I do is because of you now, he said. You're my heart, Petra. And anyone who tries to hurt my heart gets destroyed. That's not negotiable. Before she could respond, he turned to his men. Take her. Now. As Jay and 2 other guards led her out, Petra looked back. Miho stood in the warehouse, reloading his gun, his face a mask of cold determination. She'd fallen in love with a dangerous man. Tonight, she was seeing exactly how dangerous. The war between the Kong and Zhao families lasted exactly 6 hours. Miho moved through the Zhao organization like a scalpel, targeting strategic locations, cutting off resources, and systematically dismantling their power structure. He didn't kill unnecessarily, he was precise, controlled, terrifying. By dawn, Ramsey Zhao was kneeling in front of him in an abandoned building, his empire in ruins. "You took something precious from me," Miho said quietly. "You thought you could use her to hurt me. You were right that she's precious. Wrong that she makes me weak. She makes me absolutely ruthless about protecting what's mine." "Kill me then," Ramsey spat. "No. You're going to live with this defeat. You're going to leave New York. Take your family and go back to San Francisco. If I ever hear you're causing problems, if you ever so much as think about Petra again, I won't be this merciful." It was a calculated move. Killing Ramsey would create martyrs and more problems. This way, the other families would see what happened when you crossed Kong Miho. "And for the record," Miho added, his voice dropping to something lethal. "Petra isn't nobody. She's brilliant, strong, and worth 100 of your racist, small-minded family members. The fact that you couldn't see that is why you lost tonight." When Miho finally walked into the safe house, the sun was rising. He was exhausted, still in blood-spattered clothes, running on nothing but love and fury. Petra was waiting in the living room. She'd refused to sleep until he returned. When she saw him, she ran to him, and Miho caught her, holding on like she was the only solid thing in his world. "Is it over?" she asked. "It's over. Zhao family is leaving New York. You're safe. Are you okay?" Miho pulled back to look at her. "You were kidnapped and terrorized, and you're asking if I'm okay? You just went to war, Miho. So yes, I'm asking." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "I'm okay now. Now that you're safe." They stood there holding each other as sunlight filled the room. "I want you to move in with me," Miho said suddenly. "My penthouse. Full security, anything you need. I know it's fast, but I can't. I can't risk you being vulnerable again." "Okay," Petra said simply. Miho blinked. "Okay. Just like that. Just like that. I love you, Miho."